Stream. Good evening, Facebook family, and especially those coming to us on Jamaicans.com. Welcome to another edition of Bar Talk. My name is Luke Ballentine, and I'm coming to you from Moment2Remember Studios. Today we have a wonderful guest with us. Our guest today is not, first of all, I need to tell you folks, she's the hardest person to find. I've been tracking down this lady for these kind of interviews for almost 3 years.
Oh,
so
no.
it's a pleasure just to have her on the show. None other than Anthea M. Pennant. Kevin goes, yeah. She does so much. She is I can't begin to tell you the number of things she does, so I'm going to have her explain all things she does with Broward College and why it's important to have her here today on today's topic. The topic today is stimulus, from stimulus check to reality check, helpful information we could all use. And I want us to do a couple of things. First of all, tell me where you're calling from, just are viewing this from, just say hi, from Toronto, Jamaica, whatever. Secondly, as you know, this is a show that we all participate. So while we talk about reality check and all that kind of things, one of the first things the second thing I want you to do once you say hi is to tell me what you're grateful for. We started this last week. I know things are hard, times are tough, but there's still reason to be grateful. And
Absolutely.
So, thank you. There you go. There's always reasons to be grateful. So my suggestion to you, once you say hi, just tell me even through challenges, because we can count off how many things we have lost in the process and how many clients and how much money, but we're still standing. And so I want you to do that. And the third thing I'd love for you to do, this is it's a conversation. So while we listen to Althea, listen to myself. By the way, my brother from another mother is here behind the scene doing all the stuff there. Kevin Stew. Kevin, say hi to our folks. Okay. He is behind the scenes doing everything. And this is Kevin Stew, DJ Kevin Stew from the Night Shift with Kevin Stew. Check him out. A wonderful program. And at some point in time, we're going to have him at the bar, not behind the scenes, talking about what he does. Okay, so let's move right into it, Anthea.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Luke, first of all,
before you even go
so
there.
persistent.
Before you even go there, are you Jamaican?
Of course I'm Jamaican.
Good, because I'm going to ask you a little bit about your upbringing.
Okay. But just to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing now, the work I'm doing now is work that I've always been passionate about. For me, it's about being a voice of advocacy for those who cannot speak for themselves. And I can remember as far back as when I attended high school, speaking up for fellow classmates. I was head girl when I went to Campadone and president of the student council, and I actually served on the national body in Jamaica. And so it's always been, I hate bullies generally. I have no tolerance for bullies. And I think oftentimes in our economic circumstances, you always have those people who are here and they don't really care much about what's happening to folks at the lower level. And so everything I've done all of my life has been about playing a part in terms of advocacy. And so, my career basically started in this country in law enforcement, straight out of college. I went to FIU and I did my master's degree in criminal justice. And I worked in the criminal justice system. And I share this part because I think it's always important for people to understand where your passion comes from. And having worked in the criminal justice system time and time again, I saw young men and women going in and out of the system. And this was at a time, mind you, where Broward County was incarcerating Black and brown people, the second highest incarceration rate in the entire country. And so I would talk to these young men and say, why can't you get your life straight? And they would say to me, I can't find a job. And so my ex-husband and I well, my husband at the time, actually, we decided to start a small business consulting firm because he worked at both Miami Airport and Fort Lauderdale Airport at one point and saw a tremendous amount of government contracting opportunities, but we were not at the table. Black and brown folks were not at the table. Women businesses not at the table. So we started Penzac Corporation of America. And it was through this company that we worked with small businesses, large corporations, and we also worked with government agencies to break down a lot of the barriers that exist. Government spends more dollars buying goods and services. Governments buy everything. Everything. I can tell you I work for Broward College. We buy eyeballs because in our medical schools, our students need to learn how to practice on eyeballs. So everything, and that's just us, but government agencies in general buy a tremendous amount of goods and services. So it's an area that many small and minority-owned businesses are just not tapping into it. So I did that for many years, and then when I got a divorce, I switched gears. I went into the nonprofit business. I started working a lot with Feeding South Florida. I did the fundraising. I had to raise over $5 million a year, grew the budget to $8 million, and then worked for Carrefour and with homeless folks, people who were just not able to maintain housing. And somehow by divine path, I'm back here doing this kind of work, helping small businesses.
Okay,
and I share that with you because whether it was folks who were losing their jobs, people were hungry, or people were homeless, the story that I heard each time was they did not want a handout. They didn't want a handout. Mm-hmm. They wanted a job. So you can imagine, in this time where so many people are losing their jobs, right? It's a full circle conditioning. How do we help people in this time? Luke, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to interject a little bit because first of all, we just want to make sure that folks who are with us are actually, for example, I know Deshonda is watching with us. Andrea Brown is not watching, and Andrea Brown McNeach is watching. We have Donnet Beckford calling from Minnesota. We have Dahlia is calling from Toronto. Julie Moreland is from Wales. Hi, Julie. Hi from Andrea Brown McNeach from Georgia. Donna Stewart saying hi, good day. And someone says, good evening. I'm Desiree Brown from Jamaica, and it is my pleasure to join. Desiree, thank you so much for being part of our show from Jamaica. Yeah, man, Eric, long time no see you guys. All right, gotta be there. Dawn Wilson is watching. Leo Gillen is watching. Hey, Leo, I got that picture from with your mama. We'll talk about that when we have that mama show. That's one of my bald-headed friends.
Hi, Leo. Hi, Leo.
And we're here. Yeah, we all saying hi to Leo. Blake and Jordan A. Carlin. Pardon me with the names if I don't get them right. Folks, thank you for calling, but I'm asking you to do one other thing with us here. Just tell us what you are grateful for. I know it's a lot to find something to be grateful, but it can always be something to be grateful. All right, turning back to Anthea, to the topic. So my question is, you are now, what's your exact title now?
I'm the District Director of Supplier Relations and Diversity at Broward College.
Explain that for me. Because when I looked at it, I said, how do I tell people that it's a mouthful?
It is a mouthful.
Tell me
it is a
yes.
mouthful. But essentially, my role is to work with businesses who are interested in buying good and selling their products to the college. Because we, as a government agency, we're buying goods and services all the time. So if you have products that you want to sell, I'm the person who is facilitating that. I'm reviewing the proposals that are sent in, and I'm advocating for opportunities for a minority business.
That's sorry if I jump in like that, but that's the part I want people to understand.
Yes.
you are the advocate for
Absolutely.
diversity.
Yes, I am.
And therefore, if there's any kind of business you have, I'm putting her on the spot, folks.
Put me on the spot.
I'm putting her on the spot. So if I'm jumping in on this, it's because if you're up there and listen, after all this is done, if you're business minded, you're still wanting to do business, and therefore this is the lady, and this is why we have her here, because we want to talk about that stimulus check and the reality check behind it, right, and some other ways that we can go about things. Because one of the things that I found funny, I was looking, Kevin, on on online, and there were guys showing off about what new sneakers they got out of their stimulus check. And I'm thinking, really?
No.
You're talking about a stimulus check, and you go out there, you buy yourself sneakers. I just don't get it. Your response.
Okay, so hold on. So I want to talk about two things. First of all, you talked about being grateful in this time, and I know a lot of people are struggling with that. But gratitude has to be paramount. You need to be grateful in this time. Because even though a lot of people are saying, I can't wait for things to go back to normal, I am telling you, there are some uncommon opportunities that are brewing in this time.
Yes.
Right? And so we need to pay attention to those. But there's a lot to be grateful for and a lot to be excited about. There is the stimulus check, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I also want to talk about other opportunities that exist. I work for Broward College, and our budget is anywhere from about 68 to sometimes it goes up to as much as $200 million. So as a government agency, our budget is not that great when you compare it to places like Broward County government, where they're spending $1.2 billion and sometimes more depending on the projects that are coming down the pike. I currently serve on the surtax, the penny tax oversight board, and that project alone, which is a huge project that is ongoing, that project is for 30 years. It's $16 billion, and it has a 30% goal component for minority businesses.
Can I just interject there? Because one of the things I want to find, I'm glad you mentioned that. One of the things I want to find out, because many of our viewers, as you know, are from Canada, are from, you name it, Germany. As far as you can think, we have viewers, or we have people who are listening. Would this have anything to do with minority from other countries applying for these, if they have resources that they can offer, or is this primarily
for our local residents? But if you have family members who are here in Broward County and they're not aware of it, nudge them. So often we share information with businesses about getting certified and the things that they need to do in order to get themselves ready for the opportunities, and sometimes it actually falls on deaf ears. And I have to say that in this time when we have more time on our hands, because a lot of us are working from home, you're not spending time stuck in traffic, this is the time to really take a breath, and in gratitude, appreciate the opportunities that are now unveiling for you. So if you've never gotten certified so you can take advantage of the opportunities that the county and other government agencies have to offer, now is the time for you to focus on getting your paperwork in order. But I will say though, when we start going into penny tax and some of the other opportunities that exist, it's not just the penny tax, it is the school board is constantly spending millions of dollars every year. The Broward Sheriff's Office. There are tons of opportunities, and people need to start working on getting their capability statements ready so they can learn how to submit grants. Now is the time to figure out how do you submit for a government bid. Because no matter what's going on, when all of the other businesses are closing down during this time, government is still going to be doing business.
Once again, we're just taking a quick time out to say, Lorna Jones. Lorna says, hello, it's good to be here. Just as simple as that. Blake Russell says, I from South Florida, I'm thankful for health and for peace of mind Also, shout out to my colleague, BC Proud. And that has some connection there.
Sure.
Gordon Charles, A. Charles from North Carolina, from New York City. Mona Lisa Mitchell Gray, hi, from Tampa, Florida. Tiffany, hey Tiffany, thanks for coming back to us. Carlene Williams from Northport, Florida. Tiffany, grateful for a sound mind and good health. Loretta Dees, hi Loretta, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. Clarence Reynolds, great show. Thank you so much, Clarence. And for the Alaska Chin folks, just want to say a big shout out to you also. And Karen Reynolds, guys, always appreciate you. Mona Lisa, I'm grateful for everything in this life, regardless of situation. There is something to be grateful for. Mona Lisa, you are saying the same thing that I've been saying, and I thank you for reiterating it. It's a wonderful thing just to be alive or to be around at this time. Whatever happens in the future, we can work with that. But for right now, we're thankful for today, Sunday, a start of a new week, new opportunities. So we're heading right, and I'll come back to other people. I see them chiming in.
About Dr. Monique.
Dr. Monique, where
Dr. Monique Blake Russell.
All right, you take it.
Roswell, sorry.
Roswell?
Yes,
you
Dr.
take
Monique
it.
Blake Roswell, saying, hi, I'm from South Florida and I'm thankful for health and peace of mind, and also a shout out to BC Proud.
Well, I did mention her. That's what you did. Good. So there you go. Judith Stedman is also watching. Great information. So good. So we're connected with people. We're having Latha Hall from Connecticut. Grateful for my family. That's the thing to be grateful for. So now, I understand that you have a wealth of information. But let me ask a question. Sticking with this subject at hand from that stimulus check. In reality,
so we're moving to the stimulus check. Let me finish the government piece a little bit. Because you asked a question before, or you mentioned the fact that we had listeners from, or people chiming in from all over the world.
Okay, all right.
And yes, government contracting in this country is a big deal, and in Broward County in particular right now. But almost anywhere you live and you have a business, if you are trying to do business with government, it's a pretty good way to go. So it doesn't matter if you're not here locally.
Okay.
Government anywhere in the world is buying goods and services. So it is relevant, the information. So you need to take the time to understand how to do business with government. I will tell you, many of the Fortune 500 companies across the world, if you were to dig into their history to find out how they got their start and became financially solid, you will discover that a lot of it started with a government contract that they were able to garner. So maybe they don't have some of the same disparity and diversity opportunities as we have here in this country because of the historic issues that we've had when it comes to, you know, people being disenfranchised because of their race and gender. But the reality is doing business with government is always a great option. Now, I know you're anxious to talk about the stimulus check and keeping people on task and not going crazy with this money thinking, know that I have some stimulus check money, I could just go ahead and buy new shoes and so on. What is great, you see how God just knows how to work his business, you know. Because guess what? The mall is closed. But I know that there's an online mall, right? I know. The online shopping exists. But I want to caution people, and this is the moment. I mean, yes, we need to be thankful for the opportunity of the stimulus checks. I hope some of you are making sure you're tithing some of that. My pastor will love that.
Amen.
Because the truth of the matter is, and my father, not just my pastor, but the father will love that. Because the truth is, a lot of the churches are having to step up in terms of helping those who've lost their jobs.
As well as
so as you are getting your stimulus check and you're all excited about this income for you, remember that there are a lot of people who have lost their jobs.
Right.
And so go through your churches or whichever nonprofit organizations to make sure that you're donating, even if it's just a small amount, to help those who are less fortunate. So there is that. But I think one of the reasons why we wanted to have this conversation to bring a sense of reality to this conversation of a stimulus check is people get crazy when they get some influx of money, especially when it was unexpected money. And I want to caution you. It's not to bring you down. It's not designed to bring doom and gloom. But those of us who have been studying economic issues, or at least paying attention to what's been happening in the world, we all know that technology was about to change the job market for a lot of people. You know, the predictions for 2030 is that automation was going to come full force. But what we're seeing now is, because of COVID, people who did not want to interface online, who didn't want to do Zoom meetings, and whatever it is that these changes have brought about, are now having to do it. So what it has done essentially is fast-track something that we were expecting to come a few years from now. And what does that mean? It means that people are going to have to do a shift, make a shift. The jobs that you've had in the past are, for many people, will change forever.
Right.
I'm old enough to know about blockbusters. I mean, I was probably about 3 at the time, but no, we all know about blockbusters. They're gone. So some of the industries that exist, some of the jobs that exist in certain industries will be gone. And so you have to now start thinking, how do you pivot? How do you make that shift so you're not thinking that I have a job and my boss told me no because he's gotten some loan from the government that he's going to keep paying me. It may not be indefinite.
Right.
My advice to folks is to minimize your expenses, cut back as much as you can, save as much as you can, because we were on track for a recession. You know, every 10 years, more or less, there's you know, the market is an ebb and flow.
Right.
So we were on track for a recession, and now it's been fast forward. Now, nobody's calling it a recession, but essentially, that's kind of where we are. And if this thing continues, we could very well go into a depression, right? And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but this is not the time to blow the stimulus money.
Let me ask a question real quick, because that's one of the words that have been playing around, have been used. Some people say we're in a recession. Some people say we are approaching a recession. From your point of view, where are we?
Well, how I feel about it, whether you're in it or you're approaching it, the same realities prevail. You need to be conservative. If you are approaching it, you have a little time to prepare. If you're already in it, it's probably too late for you to do a whole lot, right? So either way, conservatism must prevail. I think it's important for people to become very conservative. Don't go crazy. Really start watching your dollars. Really start saving. I say if you have an opportunity where you can open your home and rent a room or two, do it now. Do it now. Downsize where you can. If you had a business and you were paying, you know, a large rent, downsize if you can, or invite somebody else to cohabit that space with you, because I promise you, watch what big businesses are doing. Many of them are they're downsizing. And we've seen some of them do it over the years, you know, a KFC coming down with, partnering with a Taco Bell or whatever, right? Yeah. You would say, but they're in the same industry. They're both serving people who are hungry, but they know well enough that their product is strong enough, their products are strong enough that even if they come together, it doesn't matter. They're still going to benefit. And oftentimes we see or people are in the same industries with us as competitors instead of coming together. I'm telling you, I'm a big fan of collaboration. I collaborate every single chance I get because there are so many cost-saving opportunities that are embedded in
Right,
collaboration. You know, all these single men who don't want to get married, collaborate.
So hey,
Collaborate.
listen, that
Get
brings
married.
I just want to put a pitch for that, because remember we were talking about that. What was the topic again? 45
And
over
dating, over 45 and
over
dating.
45
Very first
and
show.
very first show over
Yeah.
45 and dating. Now it makes absolute sense now, based on what Anthea said, that hey, 2 hands, or in this case 4 hands, are better than 1.
The Bible talks about it. 2 are better than 1.
Oh, boy.
One thing,
Can
oh
I
Jesus,
work?
that sounds like another show all in itself, right? But listen, one of the things I realize that has been happening in the process is that tools that people normally just were thinking it's for child's play and for young folks. I've not seen so many grandmas and great grandpas on the internet. They are on the internet, and some of them, believe it or not, are on the internet because it's work and because they have to peel. They're now home, so they have to be doing work from the internet and developing skills. So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that part of the process, because work is never going to be the same way.
Never.
I don't think,
Never.
I don't really believe that. I don't have a percentage in my mind, but I would suggest that a great percentage of employers are not going to go back to the brick and mortar as we have it. So my thing is that so many people in the adjustment period as we move forward will have to be in that virtual world.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, how does that affect small business then? Because I'm trying to piggyback from what you're saying in terms of opportunities.
Right.
How does it affect small business, the ones who are literally on the virtual side?
Well, let me just say this. I think that this is a moment for reflection. I think people really need to take a minute to take a breath. To take a breath, because it's a lot.
Right.
Even for the large corporations and for people who feel that they're financially strong and so on, it is a lot. Emotionally, spiritually, I mean, it is a lot to take on. So you got to take a minute to be reflective. And I think people need to ask themselves very seriously, and I say get a pen and paper and just kind of sit down and I know we're in that technology world, but you know, while you're in your bed, just take a pen and paper and really spend some time and think about what it is that you want in this life. Because sometimes we decide to go into business because we want to make some extra money, or our boss, we feel like we're making a lot of money for the boss, right. For the boss man. So I can do just as good doing it for myself. And sometimes the motivation, the reason for going into business was not always based on sound judgment. You know, you have a passion for something, you're good at it, and that was the extent of your decision. Right. And it's great to believe in yourself. And it's great that you've created a job for yourself. But I think in this environment, it requires some real strategic thinking. Whatever it is that you're doing, you have to figure out how can you do it more cost effectively? How can you change with this changing environment? Because I promise you, it's not going back to how it was. The way our lives were back in January of 2020, we're not going back. You know, the funny thing is, before COVID, we could never really go back. We can mentally think about it, but you can't really go back. So we need to be thinking, how do we go forward and how do we adjust? Because this requires radical adjustment.
So you're saying everything that we closed out January doing, forget about that. Start thinking how we're doing things now in April and how things are going.
Kevin, let's tell the audience your face, man.
Yeah, it's
Come
a
on.
major, you know, the truth is, it's a major paradigm shift. It's a major paradigm shift. And, you know, so in the process of doing things, you move one block out of the equation, it changes it forever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you have to start thinking about how you want to change things. And One of the ways when I'm stumped with any challenge, and this may be part of my law enforcement background and having taught in the criminal justice field, there's this concept of the 5 W's and an H: who, what, why, where, when, and how. Almost anything I'm doing, when I'm stumped, I use those questions to really allow myself to dig deep in understanding what my next steps should be.
For my viewers out there who might need to use that as a tool, just repeat that again.
It's they call it the 5 W's and an H, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's who, what, why, where, when, and how.
And that is to do.
Just to kind of help guide you to understand whatever your situation is. And I do that with weight loss, for example. It helps to identify your path. I need to lose weight, or is it my family? All of us in the household need to identify the who. And for businesses, I say, who's your client? So it's sometimes not even about you. It's about who do you want to serve, and what is it you need to be doing. Just using those things as a guide to help you ask yourself the right questions, because I think in this time people get really, they're confused. They don't know where to start. What should I do first? And so I'm just sharing that. When I'm in this place of feeling like I don't know what my next step should be, I ask myself those questions. And if you can honestly answer those questions for yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? What else should I be doing? And of course, the how is always a big thing. The why and the how are two big ones, because the when can be, okay, it's now, it's the next year, because oftentimes we decide that we want to do things and we don't decide on the when. When do we want to do it? So you have to factor in a timeline for whatever it is you're going to do. It's those questioning. Where do you want to do? You want to stay here locally? Do you want to do it in real time? Do you want to do it on the internet? So when you're asking the who, what, why, when, where, and how, you're trying to identify who your customers should be and where should they exist, or where should you exist? Ask those questions.
All right, just want to take a time out to recognize our viewers who are watching, and so far I do appreciate the responses from Clarence Reynolds. Great show. Hi, Juliet Stedman. Faye Anderson says, great show, watching from Philly. I'm grateful for health and strength. And then Andrea Brown McNeese says, hey, my stimulus went into my savings account.
Good place.
Good place for it to be.
Good job.
My stimulus went to my savings account. It was not expected, so why not save it as best as I can?
Smart woman.
Some lady, Judith Wilson, is agreeing with you. She said, yes. Anthea, by the way, our guest this evening is from Broward College.
District Director, Supplier
District
Relations and Diversity.
District Director, Supply, give it to me again.
District Director of Supplier Relations and Diversity.
District Director of Supply Relations and Diversity. She comes. It's a mouthful, so sometimes
it is a mouthful,
ask her.
yeah.
So Jennifer Watson, when the check, with the check, people must spend it wisely. Invest and start a small business. Pay off bills, and stop. It is messing with your credit. Daphne. Denise Ivadny, how you doing? Angie Lewis Brown, great. Greetings from Texas. Hey, Lone State. Loretta D says, love what your guest is speaking. Love that your guest is speaking directly to us. So down to earth,
yes.
right on it, sister. Whoa, Loretta D, how you going? Dwayne says hi. Dwayne Donovan. Daly says, love this. I guess you're really connecting with them. All right.
I'm glad.
Mitch McLean. The new norm is definitely going to be a major challenge. And I think improvements, challenge, and I think improvements. we have gotten so complacent. See more. If I can just get,
In
as
our
always,
past life.
you know,
And it has caused us so much pain and separation from friends and family. Yeah.
But I tell you what though, Mitch, I like that. But one of the things this, and I hate to put it this way, but it's the reality. This period of time has also allowed us to define the people who are most important to us. And I hate to touch that subject in that kind of way. But oftentimes in the whole process, the reality check is that some of the places we go, some of the people we deal with, we end up sometimes spending money, Kevin, for the places and things that we probably have no need to be.
Right.
And so when crunch time comes and we have to deal with things from a reality check, realize that some of those people really don't feature in this. So moving forward, it would have been nice to figure how we deal with people. There are people who I cherish more because I realize they've been there for me and I've been there for them. And moving forward with other folks, I hate to say it. It sounds negative, but in a sense, there's something positive about it because it's a matter of cleansing. It's a bit of catharsis about knowing yourself. I don't know, my lady for Supplier diversity would see that, but it's overall essential.
So, wait, touching on this diversity thing, how would you best suggest to, if you have no direct need to be spending the stimulus money right now, how would you suggest in this time where everything is so iffy, if you're investment minded, how would you suggest going into that in a time like this?
Well, I think people need to just be conservative when it comes to investment. It's just too volatile right now. I mean, if you understand the stock market, while stocks are being sold, there are people who are making money buying those stocks as the prices go down. Because if they have the financial strength, they can hold on to it knowing that it will go back up. Right? So there's some opportunities. If you are the kind of person in real estate, if you hold on to your cash, chances are, property value will probably go down for a little bit because as people can't afford to keep their homes, we saw some of that.
Yeah.
I don't expect that we'll see a whole lot in Broward County. And this is the optimistic side of me. Because of the penny tax and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up.
Right.
There is going to be an influx of money. In fact, in May 21st and 28th, we're going to be voting on some new projects so we can help to stimulate the economy.
Explain that penny tax a little bit because I'm quite sure you've been kind of hitting on it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an important piece in Broward County, separate and apart from the government expenditure that we know that they do every year. The good thing about the penny tax, and it's really our local residents, especially Broward County residents, who've paid into this pot and will continue to pay into it. And when we have tourists coming in, because it's sales tax, for many years Broward County has had a sales tax of 6 cents on every dollar that when you buy goods and services, while in Dade and Palm Beach they were doing 7 cents. And so this extra penny, you all voted on it in November. And incidentally, I'm the only person that was written into the ordinance to serve on that oversight board. And it was deliberate. And I have to give our current mayor, Holness, credit for that, along with the other commissioners. But he had the foresight of recognizing that it was important and integral to make sure that someone was on that penny tax board that would be an advocate for our small minority
businesses
and women-owned businesses. And so he insisted on a 30% set aside. So 30% of that $16 billion over the next 30 years is relegated to small and minority-owned businesses.
Folks, you hear that? I just want that to sink in a bit.
Yes.
That as far as And this has come from, that is something that was orchestrated by our Mayor, Dale Holness.
The commissioners, I have to give all the commissioners get credit, but the component where the 30% set aside for minority businesses and the idea of making sure that there was someone, my appointment to that advisory board is essentially lifelong. I can be there for the next 30 years. And since I'm only 30,
You'll be there for a while.
We'll take that. I
Yeah.
just wanted to hit back on the mayor because this is Jamaicans.com, and when there are Jamaicans like yourself, I don't know if so many people out there may not know that that the mayor of Broward County, the Mayor Dale V.C. Holness, is actually
Jamaican born.
A Yardman. So I just want to pitch. I just want to pitch that in. So
and I like celebrating him all the time because I've worked extensively with the mayor for the last 20 years, and he's always been an advocate for businesses. And he's the kind of person that will give you his cell number in a heartbeat because he wants to make sure. It is so important when it comes to the legacy of our folks, of our people. Black and brown folks in this country has been disenfranchised for many years. And so we need to have our own business because we need to hire within our communities.
Right.
And we also need to spend in our communities. We don't do that often enough.
That's true.
This is a time I want to encourage everybody to try to spend in your community and spend with people who at the end of the day, if something happens, they're the ones that's going to be there for you. I can tell you. And
but that's the fear. The fear, I suspect the fear is that here are these small businesses that they're not sure if they have the resources to keep going.
And that's an assessment that they need to take. That's when I say take a breath. If you are a business owner or you're thinking about a business, which is fine because, necessity is the mother of invention, and maybe this is a good time for you to have a business. What kind of business, though? What kind of business? And this is why I say ask yourself these pointed questions. If you're thinking about a business, you need to ask yourself what kind of business, where, and so on and so forth, and how. Right. And if you already have a business, what you want to do is make sure you are figuring ways to cut your expenses right now as much as you can, cut your expenses, but also look at ways that you can expand your revenue stream in that business. And it requires creativity, it requires some collaboration, coming together with some of your competitors. Because now instead of you alone paying rent, which now you're struggling to pay, if you share space, then together you can pay the rent, Together you can pay the rent. So it is a time for innovation.
Doesn't that take away a little bit from the American dream, though? Where I have come and I started my business and my business is flourishing and I.
Yeah, but when we have a dream, sometimes you wake up from the dream and when you wake up from that dream, you might think, oh my God, that was such a good dream. I want to try and catch it back, right?
So this is the
and you go back trying to catch it. It can't happen, right? But maybe if you fall back asleep, you get a new dream. And that dream is better than the other one. And life is a journey, right? It's a journey. And in every journey, you have to make your pit stops. There are ups and downs. Anything can happen, right? But you have to come with a heart of openness and a heart of hopefulness. And some of that comes with accepting your realities. In my bathroom, I have this, the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, right? The courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I keep it there all the time, and whenever I'm in trouble again, or I'm thinking, this is it. There's some things we just cannot change.
Right.
And can I just interject in your serenity
And there's some
prayer?
things that we can change, but we have to have the courage to change it.
At this point in time, as you guys know, if you know Bar Talk, we always seem to have wine up here this week or somebody drinking something. I decided to forego that this week because when you talk about the serenity prayer and giving thanks, I just decided that my wine glasses this week would have.
Oh, wow.
No, it's actually
It's
decoration.
decoration.
It's decoration.
That was going to take a sip. What are you talking about?
There's nothing but water, decoration, and I just want to bring them a little bit closer, right here. A little bit
you
closer,
want it closer?
yes.
Okay.
Because these three glasses, rather than having our, I don't know if you can see them, can we?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great. Rather than the normal wine each week that we drink, I just want to take time out to say thanks to three sector of people. First of all, I want to make honorable mention to the teachers so they don't think I've forgotten them.
Yes.
There are so many teachers who have parents who are begging you to take back their kids because little Johnny, who is so wonderful of a kid, if you look on the internet, there are just so many parents talking about calculus, math, and even fifth grade stuff that the parents are admitting locally, I'm not smarter than a fifth grader. So we want to say thanks to the teachers. But I don't think I could go through this program this Sunday without highlighting people that we're grateful for. And so we want to start first, that one. And we want to be thankful for the firefighters.
Yes.
People are, every time there's a call, the EMT firefighters, every time, so my first class, probably closest to Anthea, is going to be for the EMT and firefighters. Anytime there's a time when they go up there, they're looking for a fire to put out. Now you're going up there, it's life and death.
It's always life and death.
Yeah, but this time it's like, it's a subtle life and death that creeps upon you even when you go back home.
Right. It's their life and death more so now.
More than anything else.
The physical danger that they would see.
Exactly.
Right.
The second one I'd want to, and Anthea started our cheers, so I'm going to put up the cheers with it then. I want to give a cheer out to, I like that, Anthea, to the police officers.
Yes.
Police officers and all law enforcement people who now they're risking their life on a different level. Normally, an officer makes sure that he has enough a magazine, he got a taser, he got his book, he got everything else. Vest. Now you got to make sure you have your mask. And we really want to tell you that we appreciate you every day for going up there and understanding that now it's a different kind of a culprit.
Yes.
A different kind of culprit. And so seriously, we want to say to you, we appreciate you. And last, but by certainly no means least, our medical professionals. Our medical professionals. We just want to raise our glass to you with our rose and say we do appreciate you. It was a time when you go up there, the only thing you could worry yourself about is blood or whatever other stuff there may be. This time you're going out there just like any other of our service providers. You're going out there not sure of
what you're coming home with.
You're coming home with. And yes. I just want to take this time on Bar Talk to, rather than be sipping wine, just raising our glasses to you guys and say thank you. And on that note, let me run through a couple of our...
Wait, before you do that,
yes,
there's one other group in there that kind of fall under the medical professionals, and those are our mental health professionals.
Oh,
yes.
Because they are catering to
all of
those
these
groups.
Yes.
That you just mentioned, as well as themselves and us, Joe Public.
yeah.
So big ups to the mental
health professionals.
Truly appreciative of you.
Well said, Kevin. Because like you said, they got to deal with everybody, and then us too, right?
Yeah.
At home.
Right.
All right, Yvonne. Hope is watching. Ms. Brown, you're watching, putting my savings in the bank, but I believe that giving back so you can know, so if you know someone that's in need, be charitable. Excellent. I like that. I'm enjoying your show from Bar Harbor, Maine. Nice, Juliet. Gregory. Hey, Gregory, what's up, man? Your midday show is kind of getting addictive. Watch yourself, man. All right.
G Cole.
G Cole. We're yelling up your G Cole. I appreciate it. Cheryl Spence says, "Why, Cheryl, how you doing?" Juliet Wilson says, "I agree." Michelle Gray, "I truly embrace both." Tiffany Reed, "This is true. As a software engineer, during this time, I am employed and very fortunate to be employed."
Right,
and she says, "Kevin, as always, I got a problem trying to get this expanded." But so we'll come. It's rather long. She says, "And I'm very fortunate to be employed. This time, being home by myself has made me question my next steps in life. I am dreading going back to normal."
Wow.
I turned 40 last November, and since this pandemic, I have been questioning my purpose. It makes me question what my next steps should be in this new stage of my life. This pandemic, as unfortunate as it is, should be seen as a rebirth for many reasons, including business direction.
It's a new normal.
Wow.
That's a mouthful,
powerful.
Tiffany. That's powerful.
Good stuff. Right there.
Good stuff. And actually, Tiffany, that's something that I'm going to look at when I get back home, because this is really, really powerful information.
Yeah. I think reflection needs to be all across the spectrum, in your spiritual life, in your family life, and in your work life, and how you're taking care of yourself. Because in this time, a lot of people have gained a lot of weight. I've gained a little. I hope the camera is making me look skinny. But the thing is that we have to take care of our physical health. So take some time to go out and exercise and walk, and just really try to calm yourself so you can make good decisions. You can't make solid decisions when things are chaotic, and you need to get your focus. It's a time for you to learn something different. I will say this, at Broward College, we are constantly working with different groups online, and I know for sure right now our team at Broward College, they're looking at different ways that they can help small businesses in this environment, and to help them, to really guide them on a path to a changing future. And we need to acknowledge that the future is going to change. And so we need to learn how to do the different things that will make us more effective and productive in that environment. And give thanks always. Give thanks always to the divine.
I do agree with that. Yvonne says, "I do agree with creativity. I also agree with collaboration. We can go far alone, but we can go farther together."
Absolutely.
That's another mouthful, And the funny thing, we need to watch that togetherness, because oftentimes, as a business person, my fear oftentimes is that I get involved with somebody in my business, and before I know it, we having issues in terms of directions and so forth. But we realize that life, if nothing this COVID has shown us, is that when life comes to affect us, it affects all of us. Right. So it behoves us to find ways, creative ways, and to collaborate, like you said, as opposed to be thinking of yours truly, only yours, so forth. Kevin.
No, go ahead. No, well, I tell you, talk about.
Go ahead.
It affects all of us.
Yes.
For many of us who get our nails done and we go to different industries, who've probably not been respectful of the fact that we go to their industries to serve them. Now we're not going there.
Right.
Big paradigm shift. And I can't help but kind of touch on how we spend our money and where we spend our money, because I will tell you, in the Asian communities, monies stay there. I don't remember the data exactly. I want to say it's like 28 days. Their dollars stay in their communities for about 28 days. And in the Hispanic community, it stays for about 14 to 17 days.
Bring it down to ours,
in our
though.
community,
Bring it down
6
to
hours. That much I know.
what?
That data.
No.
6
No.
6
So let me-
hours.
So
6 hours.
Where does it go?
6
Our
hours.
community, you mean the brown
The
community?
black community. I can say the
Asian
black
community, Asian community.
Asian and Hispanic and white communities, their dollars stay in their communities a lot longer. But in our, and I don't have the stats with me.
When you say,
but I
break
would-
it down.
In the black community,
when you
for
say
sure,
stay in their,
6 hours.
But stay in their community. Break it down. What you mean by stay in that community?
In their own ethnic communities.
Doing to their own businesses.
Yes.
And their
They keep their money. They're spending their money with each other.
Aha.
But in the black community, we don't spend our
Find
money
the
with each
designer
other.
stores.
Right? And so you have to be mindful of where you're spending your money.
Right.
You really
Wow.
need to be mindful of that. And it's not a matter of racism, but as someone in the diversity business, you have to understand that you need to spend your money in your own community to be diverse.
Right.
Yes.
Right? You can't always take your money outside of your community. If we're espousing diversity, then we need to spend with ourselves at times.
Awesome. And that is one way we can look at it. And that goes whether or not you're in Florida or Toronto, Germany, anywhere.
And be
Somebody was
patient
hearing
with
from
each
Maine.
other.
From Maine and everywhere possible.
And be patient with each other, because sometimes we tend to get frustrated. You know, I don't like to do business with my own people because call them on the mat. When they're not doing what they're supposed to do, call them out. But
Call them
stick
out.
with them.
Yeah.
Train them. Help them. But we need, if we're in the true spirit of diversity, we need to spend our dollars all across the spectrum,
Awesome.
not just with just a few.
And in terms of looking forward, that's one of the best way we can close out our hour, believe it or not. Has come to an end and we could have gone far more with it. I just want to thank you all. I've not been able to get to everybody so far on the chat. G. Cole, yeah. Thank you, Cheryl, Evadne, Dan, Connor, Melissa. So many folks that we have not caught up with. We thank you as always for joining us. Just want you to, couple of things real quickly. Bar Talk, a Mother's Day Bar Talk. That is going to be May, what am I thinking of? May 10th. Bar Talk right here at 5 p.m. If I'm appealing right now to the guys. I'm going to first of all let you know I'm a certified mama's boy. When I was in college, like I told you guys before, one of the standing ovations I got as a valedictorian was talking about the mother who fathered me. And so I am proud. I know Anthea has, how many kids you got?
2.
2 kids.
Cameron and Taylor.
Okay, good. So many of us out there are guys who have been raised by the iron hand of a mother. So the iron hand. So listen, we are going to make all our tributes to them on that day. If you have a picture or a small video, 1 minute or so, with your mom that you want to share on the show, we may do a slideshow. I'm not even sure exactly how we're going to put it in, but we want to fit in all the mothers as best as possible. And we want to talk about this thing about mama's boy, because I think the word mama's boy sometimes has gotten the wrong notion. Mama's boy has so many positive things to it. So I don't know if Anthea might join us, because hopefully then we can have a studio audience if some of the things have been lifted, so we can have some mothers in here and we could get some viewpoints, young and old. Come on down. So that's May 10th. Next week we will have another very interesting topic, and I'll let you know as soon as we can. But once again, we really thank you for tuning in to Bar Talk here at Moment2Remember on Jamaicans.com. We thank you for just being the life, because without these responses, we can't do much. Give a like to Jamaicans.com. Give a like to Moments to Remember, and I'll see you come next week. God bless. And again, before I go, let me say a wonderful thank you. Cheers.
And to everyone out there, I just want to encourage you to continue to raise the bar in your life.
Their life.
Thank
and
you.
Anthea M. Pennant. Folks,
you.
thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.